Howdy, cats. Hey, Cory had asked for a demo on darting because darting is something that we did probably more in Clay 1 than you've been doing in Clay 2, but it's a really great way to change a form. So let's make believe that this is going to be my pitcher. I'm thinking about a spout, well, I guess a spout probably over here, but I want to dent this in so that I've got a great place for the handle. And I just want to break the form up, right? It's a pretty boring form how it is. So I would highly recommend darting. So darting, the old way, not the old way, but the way that we probably learned in Clay 1 was if your rim was out too wide and you wanted to bring it in, right? And we would kind of do kind of like a pizza slice. So we'd go down at a corner, right? And then back up the other side. Like so. Does that show? It doesn't really show. But anyway, like a pizza slice. And then we would cut this clay out and then bring those sides together. And then that would make the rim smaller, right? So, however, for a pitcher, right, maybe the rim isn't really much too big or maybe it's not too large at all. So there's an interesting way to cut a dart that winds up looking a lot more like a rib, except it's even on both sides. So it's more like a leaf shape, and it works really great for bringing in some space for a handle or just changing the shape of your piece. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut, first I'm gonna cut it without cutting the rim. So, you can cut a paper stencil if you want to, if you kind of know that you're not real good at keeping things on the vertical or keeping things even, or you can just go ahead and freehand it. It's up to you. I like to make myself a little bit of a cheater line, right? So I kind of know that that's vertical. And then I'm going to go below the rim, just about a finger width. And I'm going to start cutting this dart. So you can always make a dart bigger, but boy, it's really hard to make it smaller. So I would recommend starting a little smaller than maybe what you think. There we go. Okay. There. So now you can see my dart has been taken out. I'm going to guess that it's not as low as I want, that I probably want it to come down a little bit more, a little further into the belly. But just as an example, I would then score both insides. I would grab my Martha Grover slip, dot a little bit in there, and bring it together. But because this is a demo and I want to try it out first, I'm going to go ahead and I'm pushing slowly and I'm starting at the bottom, right? So I'm just pushing slowly. I'm using my whole hand and pushing it towards the dart, right? I don't want to just take and pull on these two little pieces of clay because they might be a little fragile. Oh, and the reason it took me, sorry, Cory, I know you were waiting. The reason this took me a few minutes was I didn't have the pieces thrown. Then I got the pieces thrown. Then I realized, man, I really need them at a soft leather hard. So these are at a soft leather hard. FYI, if you're struggling with drawing, if you're struggling with timing and whatnot, and you don't have a heat gun handy or a torch, go into your glamour room and grab your hairdryer, right? Because that's a pretty slick way to firm up your pots if you need to. It's a little noisier than a heat gun. But anyway, so what are we thinking about that shape? Let me get behind it so that you can see it. I don't break it. I kind of like that, right? So a dart kind of makes a butt, right? Cute little bump. Kind of makes a little butt in the pot, which I enjoy how that looks. And now you can think about a handle. If a handle springs from here and comes down to this connection, you've got a real nice kind of 3-finger handle within that space that will work great. But maybe you were thinking that you want that handle a little bit bigger, which is what I was thinking. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that down a little bit more. Also interesting to note, oh, here's the little dart I took out. Also interesting to note is that this will absolutely, and because I kept the rim intact, this will absolutely alter your rim. So you can kind of see how it becomes more of a teardrop shape. That might be a problem. Okay, so I have decided that, that this is maybe a little too big. I'm going to go ahead and cut all the way into the rim. No, I'm not. Nope, never mind. Sorry. Sorry, indecision, right? I know you guys go through this too. But I'm going to push this back out a little bit. I'm going to re-round my rim. And I'm going to cut that a little bit deeper. Not a lot wider though. I kind of like the amount of pooch I got out of that. So I'm going to start at this same top. And I'm going to go a little bit wider, but not a lot. There we go. And now I'm going to do the other side. I'm just following the lines that are already there. And looks right. So I just kind of peeled a little bit more out of there for the dart. Okay. Now this got a little wonky right there. Clean that up. I would really, you know, if you have one handy, I would use a small blade X-Acto knife. I unfortunately did not bring any of those home with me, so I don't have one. But if you happen to have one sitting around for something else, there we go. So that's the dart I'm going with now. So now let's squish. Actually, I know I'm going to be happy with it. Do I know that? I'm pretty sure, because I liked the last one. So I'm scoring both sides nice and well. And then I've got my Al's Groovy Grover slip. And I've got a little brush right here. How's everybody doing at home? I haven't heard much from y'all, but today is the day you're supposed to get your progress critiques in. I said by 9 o'clock, but I don't care if they're midnight, you know, whenever you like to work or whenever you want to sit down at the computer. I really, really, really want to take pressure off of you guys, but also have you using clay as something that helps you cope and something that you can find some joy with. So I don't want to just be like, yeah, make whatever you want, because I know that deadlines and structure are really good for us. So, but you know, if you're a little bit lax on the deadline, nothing bad's going to happen. Okay, so here is my dart that is slipped and scored. So I'm going to start at the bottom again, and again I'm bringing the clay in from the side, so I'm not just like trying to stick that little part together, kind of getting the whole form to support itself. And little bit of pinch, and you can see the slip coming through there. Do you see that goobing up? That's kind of nice, huh? Someday when I grow up, I'll know how to edit this perfectly so I can do like a close-up of the squish. You know, who knows? By the end of next week, maybe I'll be a pro. All right, so there we go. I'm pretty happy with that. Oh, you know what? I also might leave that rim altered. That's looking good. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so now I have this dart made, and check out that from the profile, right? Kind of a nice dramatic form. I've got a nice little butt going on here. It's maybe a little more angular. See how the angle of it is a little bit sharp? And so I'm gonna remedy that as well. Again, this is soft leather hard. If I go to full leather hard, the problem is that it's so firm that it's real easy then to crack your rim. That said, if you're taking a hunk of the rim out, it's probably not as big of a deal. You know, as with all things in clay, of course, there's exceptions to every rule. But generally, that soft leather hard gives you the best ability to manipulate and to have enough strength in the clay, but still enough flexibility. Okay, so I just rolled this little coil, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to start on the inside, right at that little butt cheek, that little butt corner. And right, how many times have I said butt? Somebody's gonna record this and be like, you said butt 87 times. And what I'm doing is I'm holding the seam together with my right hand, and I'm pushing that coil up into the seam with my left. Now, probably you know, or you maybe remember, I hope you remember, from Clay 1, that generally when we're smoothing in a dart, we like to, like if this was the coil and this was the dart, right, and I'm setting this down, I would want to spread this coil to the right and to the left, right, so that I'm not pushing directly against that seam. Because if you push directly against the seam, right, it'll open up the seam, which you don't want to do. But Because this is so kind of hidden underneath, right? I can't see underneath like here because it's too, it's tucked under too much. So I can't really do that at that bottom. I could do it here, and I'm going to. So now I'll tip this again. If you look inside of the picture, right, you can see where that coil is, and that part I can see. So that part I'll go ahead and use my potter's thumb to smooth that from side to side. So as you can see, I'm not much tidier a thrower at home than I am at school. Okay, so I'm going halfway in and pushing to the right, all the way up with my potter's thumb. And I just think the potter's thumb makes it easier because then it doesn't get slippery like your thumb will. Now I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to hold. Again, I'm still countering the pressure on the back. And I'm pushing now to the other side, to the left. There we go. Okay, yeah, I'm liking that. There we go, and then I can still see that coil in the bottom. I'll go in there and clean that up in a minute. But, so, I'm liking all of this, except, again, I don't like that hard angle. And maybe you do, and if you like that hard angle, if that kind of fits with the piece that you're making, that's awesome, right? But I am kind of thinking about kind of a pudgy little pelican beak kind of coming up here, right? They always look like birds when they have the little tail feathers, right? Let me see you shake a tail feather. But I still want it softer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside and support it again. Right, and I'm just going to take my serrated rib and I'm supporting on the inside, and I'm going to work kind of back and forth over that seam with that serrated. I know I've got a coil supporting it on the inside, but also a little pressure. I'm going back and forth. I'm going more over the seam than like straight down, right? Because I want to really work that clay from one side to the other. Again, supporting with the inside hand. Oh yeah, that's looking much better. I'm liking that. And then do I like the pointy butt, or do I want to round that out? I think I want to round that out. So I'm just going to kind of make it go away a little bit. And pulling, pulling, pulling. Right, in this soft leather hard stage, it's so forgiving. It's really a great time to work with the clay. I love it. Okay, get that off of there. Now I'm going to grab my red rib, get that a little bit damp, and now I'm just going to, again, support on the inside, and I'm going to go over all of that serrated. Yeah, that looks good. You guys can be as picky as you want about these things, but remember that craftsmanship is a big part of what we've got going on now, because we can't see everything or the process. I won't be able to weigh your pieces. I won't be able to pick them up by hand. Yeah, that's one for you. But I know that you guys don't want to make heavy pieces either, unless that's the aesthetic you're going for. But so craftsmanship really matters. Okay. There we go. Oh, God, that looks good. Nice. Yeah, so that's a shape that I can get behind. And I will get that. Oh, I'm seeing a little bit, still a little bit of a hard edge right there. Oh, it's more of a shadow really than anything, but I'll work on that. And then I'll give you the close-up. And I hope that this has helped, Cory, with your darting, or anybody else who was considering darting. Okay, yeah, I'll bring the piece up close to the camera, because I tell you what, I forgot my little camera holder at school, so I'm using a pretty kind of jankety one, but isn't that a nice shape? It's got a cute little round butt. I've got a nice place to launch my handle from, right? And that's going to be a nice 4-finger handle, right? If I'm holding it out here, my knuckles can go in, and that way too, that handle doesn't have to be so far away from the body, which is nice. It can just snug right up there. And then a nice little plump kind of pelican beak is going to come off of that. If you like, I can Well, why don't I, right? For Pete's sake, you guys need all the demos you can get. All right, I will do that. Okay, so here is another piece, and I'm going to do this one very, very differently. This is going to be for a stacked vase. And if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to. See you later, if that's all you were looking for. If you're wondering about some other things, maybe you're throwing cylinders and you're really, really struggling with getting them to come in at the top. It's hard, for sure, and it's especially hard when you don't have somebody looking over your shoulder, like me, saying, okay, now tip that rim in, now collar just below, tip that rim in, collar just below. You know, things can get away from you. I totally get that. I hope that you're accessing the videos that I'm putting online, though. But this is going to be a vase form, and I've already created the top of this vase. I kind of was thinking a little Martha Grover about this, right? So this is going to sit on top, but you can see, right, that this is more narrow than there. If you look at the bottom, right, this is more narrow than the cylinder. So I'm going to do some darting to make that happen. I just realized, though, this is 16 minutes, so I'm going to cut, and then there will be a second video posted that says darting the vase. Sound good? All right, hang in there. Peace, folks. Miss you all. I really, truly do. I really am, like, every day, like, oh, I don't get to see those fabulous faces. All right, hope you're doing well. See you soon. Bye-bye.